Okay, so welcome to our meetup for Transform, Thrive, Unleash. I'm really, really excited about this one. I've been holding my breath, waiting for this one. Melissa and I met each other through a coaching program that we're part of, and we kind of hit it off, and I've been able to secure her out of her busy schedule to come and talk to us tonight. So really, really pleased about that. So for those that don't know about our community, we're all about transforming, saying yes to us, yes to what we need, getting off that sort of cycle of, boredom and overwhelm and heading towards burnout, and getting to a place where we can start thriving and really enjoying our lives and living a life that we really want. So that's what we do in our community. I also do high performance coaching, which really meshes in very well, because you might not want to be a full-on high performer, but we want to get your life so it's performing a lot better. So that's what we do here. We do lots of workshops and events. And of course, we've got these once a month. You can come on and listen to an amazing speaker, talk about something that's quite topical, where you can ask questions, but also learn a lot at the same time. So mental health is something that is really topical at the moment, and it's something that is really close to my heart. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with major depression and PTSD from my time in the police force. And I woke up one day and it was like someone had hit me across the head with a cricket bat. I didn't know what had happened, but I almost couldn't speak English. And that is it. I just hit burnout just like that. I didn't even know it was coming. And it's taken me a long, long time to be able to repair from that. And that was from years and years of kind of trauma building up through working in the police force over 21 years. So I have lost a lot of friends, particularly in the police force, to mental health issues. There are so many people around, particularly now through COVID, that are really struggling with their mental health. And I think there is a lot more people talking about mental health now than they ever have before. And so I'm really excited that tonight we can look at maybe, not just the normal causes of mental health, but looking at what Melissa's going to talk about, how we can link it to our food and our lifestyle and things like that. So Melissa is a nutrition and mindset coach. Let's see if I get all this right. A women's gluten-free specialist. I've seen all her videos talking about gluten-free and how to find the right things in the shop. She's amazing. She's the founder of the Improve Yourself Academy, and she really does know her stuff. And I really love listening to everything Melissa talks about. She's super passionate about empowering women to give up the fancy diets. Who likes those? Stop counting the calories and instead learn a healthier way of living through a more balanced lifestyle and relationship with food. And I think this is so, so important. So I'm excited. I'm going to hand over to Melissa now and sit back and take some notes myself. And then along the way, Melissa, would you like people to ask questions along the way or hold them towards the end?
No, all the way through is great.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so just use the chat function, pop them in there. Melissa can see them as well. And if you've got questions, or even if you just want to comment, because when you're talking and no one's talking back to you, you're like, am I live? Are people listening to me? And if you chat along the way as though you're talking to them, so it really, really does help. So throwing it over to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really, I love being able to share with women and join other people's communities. So it sounds like your community and what you're all about is really in alignment with myself and my values as well. So I think it's really powerful that women can come together and do things like this and share and, be able to share our knowledge and expertise in all the different things that we can sharing that with other women. I think you do talk to or share in your community with men as well. I actually more work with women, and I find it's because I spent so much of my life in that masculine world that the last few years it's just like us women, we're the ones that do all the the hard yakka, really. And so and we can push through a lot of stuff and not really deal with what's going on with ourselves, and we're all nurturers, so always looking after everybody else and not so much looking after ourselves. So that's why I work with women, and I'm very passionate about what I do. So am I okay to share my screen and go through a bit of a slideshow, or did you have any questions? Or
absolutely, let's get started. Rachel, did you look like you had a question? Or
oh not? No, I just said that sounds really good. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm a big chatterbox, so I love to have my screen shared so I can stay on task. Otherwise I just start like going on different tangents, especially if it's about something I'm really passionate about. So can you see my screen there with the picture of me on it? Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, just making sure that I've got it on my end. Cool. So a little bit about me. I have a bit of a nickname called Food Ninja. I think it's because people feel this need to explain what they've eaten to me. Like a confession, a food confession. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I've had that nickname for about 10 years. That's a picture of my family. I was just talking to Nikki before we jumped on. I have been with my husband since high school, and we have 3 kids together. We started our family pretty young, and it's been probably the last 12 years I've been on my own health journey. And got so passionate about it, and I was helping so many people. I thought I better get qualified because I'm giving out all this advice. But it doesn't matter what qualifications you have, a lot of it is also that life experience. So we had some major health issues that we were dealing with, and we were able to reverse it through food. And so that's why I'm super passionate about food and what we eat and how we look after ourselves. And that's why nutrition and mindset coaching is something I'm really passionate about. I also run retreats over here in Perth, if anyone wants to fly over. And I run 2 a year in this beautiful boutique 5-star resort. And it's just really about a power-packed, very transformational nutrition, mindset, and personal development retreats. And I think it's because we're so busy that sometimes it doesn't suit people to work one-on-one, and it can suit them to just get away. And women, when they're away from their home, yeah, it's amazing what things come up and how we can realize that we need to spend more quality time on ourselves. So I love retreats. So tonight's topic, how is mental health linked to food and lifestyle? I love chatting about this sort of stuff. And if you ever ask me questions about food, which Nikki knows, like I even walk into supermarkets, even when I had to wear a mask and show people about looking at labels and really understanding food labels, something I'm also passionate about. But yeah, anything about food gets me excited. I'm a big foodie. I don't know if anyone else is, but yeah, it's really my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
So having mental health issues can affect all different areas of our life, but really the ability to enjoy life. And I think it can be really hard if we are waking up every day and we feel like we're not enjoying our life. The ability to balance different aspects of our life, having that more awareness and really being able to see things for what they are and what's going on. Having the capability to develop and identify strengths and weaknesses, because we can't really change what we don't know about ourselves. So if we don't know that we have certain things that we have weaknesses in, then we are unable to really do anything about it. So I know for me personally, there were so many things that I was not aware of that was making me feel less than ordinary on a daily basis. So when we are experiencing either depression or a lot of anxiety, which I think is very common for women, then we can really struggle to sort of see and get an outside perspective of what's going on. Also, the opportunity to express various emotions and to understand and then allow our emotions. And I think I was talking to actually my client an hour ago about this. I remember clearly being told from my parents all the time, you know, children are designed to be seen and not heard. And so we've got this whole generation of us coming through, or my generation, where we really don't understand how to voice our emotions, or how to what to do with them, and how to even allow them to come up. And I know with my children, I have not known even how to teach them that, how they can deal with their emotions, because I didn't learn that as a kid. And we don't learn those things in school. And so when we don't allow emotions, or don't understand how to express them or voice them or what they are, that can cause a lot of conflict in our mind. And that conflict can create where we can really feel a struggle or limiting beliefs. So I think that's something that's starting to change, which I'm excited about. But obviously there's, not enough awareness about it there. And resilience to recover from challenging times. Again, not saying there's anything wrong with the way our parents parented, because our parents did the best they can and they love us. But I was sort of being brought up in a bit of a bubble wrapped world, and everyone's different, but it's understanding how we can not sit in something for too long, or let it consume us, or even, I think, thinking that our experiences are us. So we can experience something and then we think about it all day and then let it sort of define us, when it's not actually that. It's an experience. It's not us, if that makes sense. So depending on what it is that you actually have experienced. I feel like there's a lot of contributing factors to how we can get ourselves onto this path of the mental health or mental well-being that is where we feel like we're struggling. And I think that, like I said before, that a lot of people are becoming really aware of this now. You're hearing about mental health. People are okay to talk about it. It's not something that's hidden anymore, which is great, but it's how we sort of throw it about, and what, people can sort of say things doesn't make it true. So we need to have a really clear understanding of it, and what it means to you might not mean it to me, just like what I think is healthy to me might not be the same to you. So I guess we've got to really figure out what it is for us. But I feel also strongly that we're growing up in this, especially for my kids more than anything, watching this quick fix solution kind of society, where how can we get out of our pain? How can we get out of our problems really quickly? And a lot of that is based around some tablets or something that's supposed to be an instant quick fix. And we don't look at long term. We're always looking at this short term, quick, how can we get away from what it is that we're dealing with? And if we do find a solution, that solution might be very temporary. So that solution might be provided to us, but it doesn't last long enough. And so again, we've got that feeling like this solution that I was given only lasted a short amount of time, and now the problem's back. And then we start to feel like there's something wrong with us, because this quick fix solution that people are taking or doing is not working. And so I think it's really about, are we trying to put a band-aid on our problems, or a quick fix solution, and not dealing with the root cause? What is the underlying cause and reason that we've got ourselves here, and being able to address it? So I'm just going to go through a couple of things tonight that I believe contribute towards it. And obviously I'm coming from a nutrition and mindset perspective, but these are the things that are, I guess, not so mainstream, but we are, if we think about it, quite aware that these are probably contributing to it. So 20th century has seen major shifts in dietary intakes globally, with a marked increase in the consumption of sugars, snack foods, takeaway foods, and high energy foods. And at the same time, the consumption of nutrient and fiber dense foods is diminishing. I call it the Uber Eats century. I don't know if it's a century, but it's like an Uber Eats lifestyle. We've got Uber Eats, we've got Menulog, we got, what is it, Dinner Twist, and all the things that we can have delivered. So even when it comes to quick fix solutions, we're doing it with food as well. And so what we're actually absorbing is a very small amount of nutrients into our diet, and we're living off things that are quick and instant and, you know, sugary and have all these flavors. And with that comes your additives, your preservatives, your chemicals, the things in there that actually are not just gut disrupting, but also mind and brain disrupting, and has been directly linked to the way we think and feel. So we've really got to consider what it is we're putting in. And I think also that we've been told that it's okay, or not, maybe not told, but it's allowed, it's common, everyone's doing it, right? So well, I'll never forget the last 2 years, especially when we were having lockdowns here. I've never seen so much Uber Eats deliveries in my life, because everybody didn't, you know, wanted to have something they could feel good about, and were using food as a source of feeling good. So really understanding that these sort of foods have really made a huge impact and change to the way we feel. And that's for a lot of people, and it becomes norm, right? So when I was a kid, you had to drive quite far to get from one McDonald's to the next, whereas now they're like literally multiple ones in one suburb. It's not hard to get there. And now you've got it getting delivered to you. Again, it's not hard to get to, because we're learning that quick fix solution. How can I quickly have this? How can I quickly have that? Because we want that result, but we don't want to put, you know, the effort in. And I think as well for women is we're really caught up in the yo-yo dieting. So that feeling of comfort from food, where that feeling of when we're struggling, that food is going to make us feel better, that feeling of that food is going to help us when we're stressed, food is going to make us feel better when we're sad, because we haven't learned the tools, because we don't understand what our emotions are, or because we don't have a healthy relationship with food. And when we are caught up in eating foods for comfort, for stress, or just to feel better, in most cases, the foods we're choosing aren't the best foods for us. They're not the foods that are going to give us energy. They're not the foods that are going to make us feel great about ourselves, or just feeling great in general with our moods. So food equals mood. We all know that, yet we don't eat for our mood that we want. And so when we do get caught up in that comfort, stress, emotional or binge eating, we start choosing foods to deal or cope, and it in fact does a reversed effect to us. These foods are not, they don't have nutrients in it, they don't have vitamins in it. In most cases, we don't feel full from it because it's not nutrient dense. And it gives us a whole heap of other problems. And we start to judge ourselves. When we're judging ourselves, we, you know, go back on that wheel of how we feel about ourselves. And when we're judging ourselves or comparing ourselves or self-loathing, we're not feeling really good about ourselves. We're not looking at ourselves and having good positive thoughts. So from there, we can, you know, really create a vicious cycle. And this is something I teach my clients, is that also what happens is we start to create some pretty full-on habits. And they're playing in a loop in the background, right? These things are playing in the background and we aren't even aware of them. So if you have a look at one, it says trigger. So trigger or charge, depending on what word. There's a lot of words being thrown around at the moment. So whatever you think of. But if something happens to you that creates a response or a reaction in you where you don't feel good, what is common is that our response to that is to look for distraction. So our mind is designed to get us from birth to death as safely as possible. It doesn't like to feel discomfort. So what can happen is if we haven't learned how to feel uncomfortable, or we haven't learned how to deal with our triggers and our charges and the things that have happened to us, and we don't allow those emotions, our reaction is to look for distraction. Our reaction is to distract ourselves so we can go from uncomfortable to what we perceive as comfortable. And you know what a great source of distraction is for women? Food. If we can't get to Netflix because we're looking after everybody, if we can't get to alcohol because it's the middle of the day, so what do? We choose distraction through food, because it's a lot easier to grab the chocolate or the bag of chips. So from that, we're going for that, and the way our mind works, we're going for that dopamine hit. We're going for that serotonin hit. So the reward is that, oh, this food, it's my favorite. It's going to make me feel really, really great. And what happens? We get to the point where we've created ourselves a habit. Even though that reward lasts 5 minutes, if that, and we generally feel worse after. But that's the loop that plays, right? And what happens is the more we get better at it, the more it's playing, we don't even realize it. So think about the times where you go, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I ate that whole bag of chips. I just know I felt really sad. I ate the bag of chips. The sadness went away for a couple of minutes and it's back again. And I don't even know how it happened. And this loop is playing in the background and changing our relationship with food. So if we think about where mental health and mental well-being comes into this loop, it's sort of in two different ways. It's the habit loop. It's the fact that we're looking, obviously for rewards, because we don't know how to deal with our emotions. We don't know how to deal with the things that upset us because we haven't learnt that coping way. And the other part of it is that these foods that we're using to cope are actually making us feel worse, because they're making us feel worse in how we look at ourselves, because we generally will eat the bag of chips and then turn around and say, oh, I can't believe you ate that chips, you silly girl. We will say those negative things to ourselves. I won't say what my clients say that they actually say, because it's pretty full on, but we generally do say some pretty harsh stuff to ourselves. So we've got to remember that all that's happening. So we're not only creating this loop that's playing in the background, but we're also feeding ourselves food that does not make us feel good. They actually are going to make us feel lethargic, feel tired, feel grumpy, and generally we'll feel hungry again after, or feel sick because there's no nutrients in it, or our stomach doesn't register because it's not real food, and so we can eat a lot bigger quantities of it. And so then by the time it's reached our brain and we're like, you're full, you've actually overeaten the junk food, which is something that is things that we don't even realize is happening. So that's the other thing is there's not a lot of awareness around these things and connecting it. I believe that what's really happening is we're having less of the real food, which is what I've just talked about. Movement and sleep. We are sleeping less and less. They say the average people are sleeping around about 5 to 6 hours a day, when we know that we need to be sleeping a minimum of 7 to 8 hours. So we're cutting 1 to 2 hours every 10 years. And most of it's because we're working so much, right? We're so busy. We're losing connection, and that's happened and been evident the last 2 years. And what's going on outside, and especially when we're dealing with mental health, mental well-being or anxiety, is we hide within ourselves. We don't know how to ask for help. We don't feel safe to ask for help. And so we don't have that connection. We don't have that movement. We don't have those socializing. We're not going out, having activities and being in nature. One of the tools I teach clients is, how do you self-soothe? For me, I can go out into nature and I know I'm going to feel better. You won't see me run up and hug a tree. I've done it, but I don't necessarily need to do it. But think about how you feel if you go for a walk along the beach. Do you feel great after? Do you feel cleansed and renewed? And do we allow time to do this? And I believe that we don't have enough health knowledge. I watch all 3 of my kids going through school and watching how they're taught about health, how they're taught about food, and it's dismal. It's disappointing. You know, they talk about allergies. Yeah, well, that's not really talking about health. My daughter in high school was in her health class was taught how to eat a hamburger. They got taught to squeeze the hamburger, all the fat out of it, and were talking about fat and how bad it was for them. And at the end of the class, the teacher turned around and said to the kids that had squashed these hamburgers and squeezed all the fat out, "You can chuck your burger in the bin or you guys can eat it." She came home and said, like, all the boys ate the burgers. And I thought, what? What are you teaching kids? If you're showing them that it's bad, but then telling them to eat it. And really, when I've gone looking, I don't see much knowledge that we're learning about food. And why is that? Because you can't make the same amount of money off food as you can off the other things, right? You can make more money off all the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar diet industry. And we know the pharmaceutical industry is a big money-making industry. So, you know, really, why are those things happening? There's a lot more of busyness. Everyone's getting really, really busy, and we're not slowing down. We don't know how to slow down. And I'm definitely can say that this happens to me sometimes as well. And I believe that for women especially, we start to get an alcohol dependency. What happens is we are putting everybody else in front of us. We are running around either for our job or for our family or for the people we love, putting everybody first. And by the end of the day, we're burnt out. We're tired. We're exhausted. And we don't know how to cope. So we numb ourselves with a glass of wine. And we go, you know what? I just want to feel like everything's okay, or everything's going to be okay. I just want to calm down. I want to get off this roller coaster for a couple of hours. And so the wine might work for a time, but what happens with most women, especially once you get over the age of about 35, 40, we start to experience more anxiety as a result of the alcohol. That's the way it reacts in our body. And we can get really high functioning and still be able to drink a lot of alcohol. And so we're able to push through a lot of stuff and not connect the dots. I also believe where a lot of us are stressed. And again, it's about not knowing how to cope. Same with the trauma stuff that's coming up. It could be that the trauma you've experienced is something really big, or the trauma could be quite small. So it really depends. Like, I'm sure when we look at the fact that, you know, I was told that I had to eat everything on my plate because there was kids starving in Africa, it definitely had an effect on me. So I know the word trauma is thrown around a lot at the moment, but it is kind of whatever it is for you, right? What does that mean? What is it that's coming up? Is it that in your childhood, you were told to be quiet? You were told to, you know, you weren't allowed to voice your opinion. And so it's very hard to be able to voice your opinion as an adult. And so that can create stuff when someone's shutting you down. They are old things that are coming up. And from that, we can get anxiety, we can get depression, we can feel really low. And it creates like a bit of a cycle. I believe that social media and comparison is a big thing, especially for women. Like, we can see snippets of people's lives and think that everyone's doing better. I know how much I'm struggling at the moment with everybody in Bali. Can everyone stop showing me their Bali pictures? Like, stop already. Because everybody's over in front of a swimming pool lying on a sun lounge. And I'm like, So if you think about it, it doesn't take long before we start looking at stuff that is not necessarily good for us. If we're not in a good place, it can make us feel worse. So we're not choosing what we're looking and allowing in front of us. And another thing is chemicals and food interference, which I'll go through really, really quickly, but I believe is really affecting our mental health and well-being, and is directly linked. Additives, preservatives, MSG is directly linked to the way we feel, which is so huge. But, you know, you're not going to hear about it because they're the things that make you addicted to the food they want you to eat.
Can I say one tiny thing? Or oh no, I just found it interesting. Like I've known this for a while, but I just found it really interesting that I was told that 90% of your serotonin is in your gut.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I can completely understand the importance of what you put in your body and nutrition, especially if you do have mental health issues. So yeah, very important. Yeah.
And I think that it's a shame that it's not more widely known. It's great.
Yeah, it is. I think I agree. I think there's a lot of people that would be shocked to hear that, because when I heard that, I was blown away. I was like, what? I thought it was all up in your brain. And I was like, yeah, no, it's like,
yeah, directly linked. And
yes,
thinking about the signals that are there, for sure. And what's interesting is that it's actually, gut health is it's a huge topic. There's so much to learn there, but gut health is, with my clients, one of the definitely an important part of working with me, because for you to increase energy and actually crave real food and want to feel good, you have to have a healthy gut. And without that, you're not going to get there very easily. It's going to take a lot of work. So there's lots of different ways that we can do that, but healing the gut is definitely key in your mental health and well-being. And I honestly believe that is something that you need to do on a day-to-day basis in a small amount, so it takes you 5 minutes, on a daily basis for the rest of your life, if you want to live a thriving life, which is what this group that Nikki's provided for you is all about. It's about thriving. So how can we thrive? It is things that we do on a daily basis. So yeah, a lot of things that are happening is based on the inflammation foods and the inflammation behaviors. So inflammation foods are what a lot of people are consuming. I call it the SAD diet. You may have already heard it, but it's the standard Australian diet, which has got all these, it's lacking in colors. It's very heavy foods. It's foods that make you feel tired and lethargic after. And when you feel tired and lethargic, you don't feel great. Those foods create food addiction, the yo-yo dieting, they confuse your body, and they create inflammation within the body. So these foods are creating inflammation in your body and creating inflammation behaviors. So just like you said, Rachel, connecting the gut and the brain, what happens is the inflammation within the body can create those moods disorders, but it also can create a change in behavior as well. So if you're noticing that you're getting fogginess, moody, or you can be on a real high and then a really quick low, and it happens quite fast, that is showing up in your body through inflammation, through an unhealthy gut, or different areas, but really understanding that the food has a huge component to it. And so what we're noticing is chronic inflammation is coming up and being connected to all these different areas in the body. But what people aren't talking about is how inflammation is affecting mental health and mental well-being. So not only is it connected to diseases, but it's connected to the brain. And so with something we need to think about, if we know our body's got inflammation, are we thinking about the inflammation up here? I think there's been a huge increase in people having reactions to the food and to things that you're exposed to. So food, to the supplements you might be taking, to pharmaceuticals, to hormone tablets, contraception, anything that you're getting. There's majority of people are walking around with something going on in their body and they're having big reactions. And our go-to is what I said before, the quick fix. And I get it, right? Because I remember having acne really bad in my 20s and I wanted a quick fix. I wanted to be able to solve my problem really quickly. I was very conscious. But they're all short-term stuff, and we need to be looking at, instead of a Band-Aid, how we can get there with long-term solutions and getting to the root cause. Another thing that is affecting our brain is, and our mental health and well-being, and anxiety is a massive connection to sugar. It's found in like nearly 80% of packaged food, and a lot of anxiety is caused from the sugar rush, the sugar addiction, the sugar connection, and really understanding that that is something that is probably more of a problem for women than we would like to admit, because so many women are addicted to sugar. And because we are running around looking after everybody, we're thinking that sugar is going to give us energy. And in fact, it doesn't. The energy hit you get from sugar is so small, and then the crash after is so big, it actually does the work. It's worse. So what we need to do is sort of be looking at, how addicted are we to sugar? How much sugar are we having in a day? Do we know? There's like 80 to 90 different names of sugar. And then they've got so clued on to how we have clocked onto their tricking us with these sugar in food, that they've actually started creating alcohol sugars and other different types of sugars. So we don't know, we can't see it when we read food ingredients. So it's quite scary. And just quickly covering food labels and nutrition and what we're taught. The Nutrition Australia breakfast sample is cereals and low-fat milk. So if you have a look at these cereals, right, Special K, if you go and see say a dietitian, they'll probably suggest you have Special K and high-low milk for breakfast, because that's what Nutrition Australia support. Most people don't look at food ingredients. Look at this Special K ingredient list. First ingredient is always what it has the most of, and last ingredient is what it has the least of. So it goes in that scale. So imagine you're waking up eating a bowl of rice for breakfast, big bowl of white rice. How do you expect to feel after you've eaten a bowl of rice for brekkie? Are you going to be high energy to deal with the whole day in front of you? Or do you think you're going to feel a bit tired and lethargic? Because I know what I would feel like if I ate a bowl of white rice for breakfast. I'm going to feel pretty tired. So we've got to really understand what is being modeled to us and marketed to us as healthy, and what is these foods that we're consuming actually creating in the body. So it's pretty hard to get excited about life and feel good about life and have energy in our life when we're eating a bowl of rice for breakfast, let alone the fact that you've got grains in there. And yes, I am a gluten-free specialist. Even if you eat grains and you eat gluten, do you want to have heavy amounts of grains first thing in the morning? We know that they slow us down. They're heavy. They're grounding foods, which are really great if you want to be grounded. But if you want to have energy and take off for the whole day, and you don't want to be rooted on the spot in the morning, is that the kind of food you want to be eating? The other thing to note is, for them to be able to get that 4-star rating and be able to put grain-raised protein and things like that, they put synthetic vitamins in there. You've got synthetic minerals and synthetic vitamins. So, you know, when you go to the chemist and you buy the fish oil or say the multivitamin, and it's like you get 1,000 capsules for like $5, you're like, man, this stuff is so cheap. It's great. I'm going to take it. And one, it doesn't do anything for you because it's just synthetic. It's not made from real ingredients. It's chemically made. It's not real. So our body can't actually absorb it in its proper form because our body doesn't know what it is. Our body just looks at it and goes, what is this? So also the process of creating high-low milk by stripping the fat is not the way that it's designed to be consumed. When we remove the fat, what are we actually drinking? What are we receiving? And do you know the process of removing fat from the milk, the actual process that they go to, and there's that much chemical process to remove that what are you actually getting when you've got the high-low milk left? If you go and look at some of the Jersey cow milks, not that I'm a huge dairy fan, I'm not, because I don't think that the cows are the way they used to be 10, 20, 30 years ago. But if you were to go buy a Jersey cow milk, you'll see it's hard, thick cream at the top, and you'll smell it and go, oh, that reminds me of the milk when I was a kid. We can't make money off that milk, I'll just tell you, because that's in its whole form. Whereas the milk you get now, it's all been changed, right? And then we think about how we want to get healthy and we want to have some almond milk. Let's get some almond milk into us because it's so healthy. Well, Almond Breeze has ground limestone in it, because if we put ground limestone in it, you won't notice that it's just water and 2% of almonds that are mixed together, and it actually doesn't look like almond milk at all. But if we put the crushed limestone in it, we can give it kind of that, you know, that almond milk look. Not to mention that we've got natural flavors and the sunflower lecithin that's in there as well, which we don't know what it is. A lot of times natural flavors can have MSG in it, and natural flavor just means it's derived from a natural source, doesn't mean it's real, and that doesn't mean it's not processed. And that also, you don't know what that natural is. That can be from an animal. So, you know, there's horsehair in some gluten-free bread. And if you look at Milk Lab, the Milk Lab is one of the most popular milks used in cafes in Perth. I'm not sure about the rest of Australia, but you've got quite a lot of additives in there. And what does those additives do and maltodextrin do? It disrupts the gut. Not only does it disrupt the gut, but it actually is interfering with your gut bacteria. So these things are connected to our mental health because they're also connected to how we feel, not just in the fact that we're not absorbing real food, because that's like 3% almonds, but we're also not absorbing nutrients, and we are absorbing those additives that are in there. We're absorbing the food that's not real in there, and God knows what it's doing inside the body. So being aware of our ingredients is important, because food isn't what it used to be. Food has changed so much.
A lot of food isn't actually food as far as I'm concerned.
It's not. But we're so caught up in that, you know, quick fix. And we are also caught up in the habit loop of using emotion and food for emotion and comfort to heal us, or not to heal us, but to make us feel better, and it doesn't. So, you know, there's an awareness there. But these foods are also created for us to want more of it, right? Because MSG, everyone knew about it. They stopped putting it in, and now it's back in food, and they've just got all these great tricky names for it. So we need to understand that. And so my opinion, and the reason why I called my business Improve Yourself, is because I think that if you try and change everything, it's overwhelming, especially if you're already dealing with anxiety or mental well-being stuff that's happening for you. But what you can do is figure out, what is one small thing I can do every day? And when I'm getting really good at that, what's one more thing that I can do every day? Which is why I promote improving yourself daily, through knowledge, through healthy habits, and through healing. Heal the body, heal the mind, heal the heart, if there's stuff that's happening in there, which for most of us it is, right? Eating accordingly. So if you're eating those sort of foods, how are you going to feel? And if you're eating those sort of foods, how are you going to feel in your mind? Learning a little bit about leaky brain is important. So that is where the blood-brain barrier has been affected. So that's where toxins or substances have breached our bloodstream and got in there and got to the brain. When I was first learning about the leaky gut, about gut health, about gut dysbiosis, all that sort of stuff, that was all new like 12 years ago. And so now it's really common to hear about it. And now we're only just hearing about leaky brain. And I tell you, in 5 years' time, this is going to be huge, because they're going to be able to connect more and more how much this is affecting the way we feel on a daily basis. So it is worth looking into and really understanding how it works, and all the things that are happening in the body, all the disruption, the damage, the parts of our body that are leaking all these things in. And without me going into that, because it's a bit of a like a whole nother session, but it is worth really looking into and understanding a lot more. Improving gut health. So looking at whether we have gut dysbiosis, leaky gut, is there an autoimmune disease going on, and understanding the stress and vagus nerve if it's having dysfunction, because this is all linked to the way we feel. This is all linked to how we're coping on a day-to-day basis. Omega-3s are a great way to look at how you can boost brain food, right? These are the foods that give you energy and they make your brain healthy. So think about how your chips, your chocolates, your KFC and your McDonald's dehydrate your brain, make your brain foggy, make your brain slow, make it just not function well. When we're eating omega-3 foods, the best way I describe it, because I'm visual and I like to make things sound a bit more interesting, is think about omega-3s, how they're like produce an oil, and they oil your brain. So they stop it from being squeaky and dry, and they make it perform really well, because that's literally what it's doing. It's oiling the brain and making the brain function and making it just work really, really well. So if we can eat more omega-3 foods, then we can really do a lot more in helping and supporting the brain's function.
Can the supplements help as well if you're eating a good amount, or if you can't get enough in your diet? Like the high quality ones, are they like worthwhile in some situations?
It depends, obviously, what you're taking, quality of them. Looking at practitioner only ones, and whether it's going with what you're doing. I think gut health, working on your gut health is the most important. Then work on absorbing nutrients and getting more healthy food in, and then from there start looking at your gaps, and then you can look at the supplements then. But instead of confusing the body, working on how you can do some more nurturing and healing of the body first, and the brain and the gut, and as you're doing that, then the gaps start to show, and then you have more of an understanding of what's the best thing to help support that as well with supplements.
Okay, thank you.
So I do believe in supplements. I just don't think we need to take supplements for the rest of our lives. But food isn't like it used to be. We know that we can get bananas all year round, and now bananas are like this big instead of this big. So we know that what we're really getting is not the same quality, and so that's why supplements can play a part in helping us, and depending on how much work you have to do as well. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
So really get more food and health knowledge. So figure out what suits your body type, what gives you energy, what supports you feeling good, what supports you thinking positive, what provides a healthier mind and body, and what empowers you to live happier. So I've kind of covered a lot of these things there, but if you sat and answered those questions to yourself on a daily basis, your choices might be different for yourself. What you're doing might be different. You might be choosing something different. When you go, what suits my body type? Do I actually need to eat this? Does it suit me? And I'm not talking about the inflammation foods. I'm just talking about general foods. I know that I can't eat red meat every day because I feel tired and lethargic, and my body spends a long time trying to break it down. So if I was going to eat that every day, I'm going to feel very, very slow and lethargic. I have to work that out. But if you were my client, I wouldn't say to you, don't eat meat, because I still eat meat, but I just don't eat a lot of it. But if you're my client, I wouldn't say that, because you're different than me. We have to work out what suits us. That's why diets don't work, because we need to find out what actually suits us specifically, personally. What gives you energy? You should be able to look at your food and go, you know what? Oh my gosh, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to feel so good. Because I know that when I eat my breakfast or my lunch or my dinner, I feel really good after and energized. That's the way we're designed. We're designed to feel like that. Are we doing what supports us to feel good? Because if you're in a job you hate, don't waste any more time. We don't get to come back into this life and redo it, thinking that we've, got to stay stuck in these things. So, but also, do you feel good about your food? Do you feel good about the things that are going in? Are they making you feel good, or do you eat those foods and then feel not as great after? So just to finalize it all, instead do more of the things that I talked about at the start, more of the movement, more of the sleep, more of the connection, more of the socializing, more of the activities, more of nature. And activities are like the things that really make you excited. I love forward driving and camping and exploring, and that gives me energy when I'm doing the things that I love and I get excited about. So, and I can do that in work, but I do need to have a break. Otherwise I'll just burn out. So I have to find that balance. Healthy eating and how you can get more knowledgeable about food, I think is key, because if we rely on other people to tell us, we're never going to find out. Obviously finding out from specialists such as myself or somebody else that suits you best. But just like we get specialists to look after our hair, that look after our lawn, that we hire people to do things for us or fix our car, they're specialized in that. But find somebody that can help you and teach you and get you more knowledgeable in those areas, because we can't throw it away and get a new one. we have to look after this. And when we look after this, we look after our mind. And start doing less of the yo-yo dieting and using alcohol as a crutch. I'm not saying you have to give up alcohol. I know I'm doing dry July, but I know that, not being able to drink in Australia can be hard, because every Australian is a social butterfly when it comes to having a drink on the weekends, or a barbie and a beer, whatever. But how are you using it? Are you choosing it because it's replacing things, or you're trying to feel good from it, or you're trying to numb from it? And stress, like, what are you stressed about? I used to say all the time, I reckon for literally 10 years straight, I told everybody I was stressed. Nobody told me to shut up. I just kept saying, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed. And I was wondering why I was sick all the time. I was so sick. And I just kept saying I'm stressed, and I didn't do anything of it. So stress is a huge thing, because that's going to change the whole way our body's reacting. And doing less of our trauma responses, doing less of those triggerings, because every time we get triggered and we're not working on that's the thing that's upset us, creates those loops that keep happening and playing in the background. Stop comparing yourself on social media. No one's life is better. We have so much to be grateful for. It's really easy. I'm, joked about the Bali thing, but I literally, when it first started happening a few months ago, I said to my husband, oh my gosh, it's so not fair. I really want to go to Bali and I'm not going till next year. Can't handle this. But, you can really get caught up in that. So it's just really be mindful, what is it that I'm thinking? And looking at chemicals and food interference. So MSG and additives are connected. We hear about it when it comes to children. So they talk about, children with autism or ADD, ADHD, behavior problems, they say, and they connect it to additives, preservatives, and MSG and other fake food that's in there, right? And sugar, because sugar is one of the worst chemicals. But we don't hear about it affecting adults. Why not? Why aren't we? Well, if it's affecting children, just because we're bigger, we're probably consuming more food. So why are we not connecting that these things are making us behave just as oddly as our children? Because I saw a huge difference when I changed the foods that my kids were eating. Their behavior was totally different. Their moods, their energy, the way they perform at school totally changed. Their attitude, everything. And so it wasn't just me looking at myself. I was able to look at my family and sort of see, what's really happening there. And that's it. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions. I was trying to keep an eye on the chat group. I think most of it was just agreeing with some of my scenarios I was sharing.
Yeah, I found that really, really interesting. I was taking a lot of notes, and especially you just hit the nail on the head on that last bit, because my son is undergoing tests at the moment for Asperger's, or, you know, some kind of autism, and his diet is not great. And I was just thinking today of all the crap he's eaten, you know, today. And yeah, you're totally right. Like, I need to really look at his diet. But then, as you say, we talk about their diets, but we don't then think about us in the same way. So yeah, that last bit, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to be quick, because I know I've talked a lot, but my youngest couldn't hear properly, wasn't developing properly, had some behavioral stuff going on. It definitely had like learning things happening, and we were getting told, you know, look, we think he's got ADD, he could have autism, you can't get him tested yet because he's not old enough, that sort of stuff. And we actually had a psychologist come in, and they said he's actually really got quite a high IQ, but there's stuff that's not happening. And I took him to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor said to me, why don't you start getting adjustments? And after the first adjustment, he said, why don't you change his food? And I was like, what? And he said, why don't you cut dairy out? So I cut dairy out, and I started to see a huge change in him. And I started doing research, and that's actually what started my journey. So I then cut out gluten and sugar. And by the time he was, I think it was 2016, we got him his IQ tested again. He was above, like, huge range above what was normal for his age. They reckon because he couldn't hear, he started to use the parts of his brain that they don't use for the first 7 years, which changed his IQ. He'd caught up in all his development. And the biggest thing, the main thing that we did was we changed his food, and we brought in way more vegetables. We brought in fruit, nuts, seeds, all that sort of stuff. And we cooked from scratch. And that is so I ignored all my health stuff and didn't deal with it. I learned to live with it. I'd seen specialists for years, and no one had any answers. And it was actually my son. And it's funny how we do things for other people better than we do it for ourselves, but it was his changes. Like, and I will never forget the day my husband came home, and like the pantry was in garbage bags, and he was like, what are you doing? Oh, you know, we're going gluten-free and sugar-free. He was like, what? No. And I'm like an all-in sort of person. And you know, that all five of us, the changes were just huge. It was the weight loss, it was the sleeping. My son started talking properly, eating properly, sleeping properly, everything.
Did his hearing improve? How did he? Or
100%.
Oh, really?
We had
Oh my gosh.
back then. So you know, it's like 8-9 years ago, we had a $5,000 surgery booked in. So he was booked in to have surgery. He was going to have tonsils out, grommets in. We didn't have to have any of that. So
oh my gosh,
it all with food. And yeah, and I had dealt with, you know, huge health issues, autoimmune, dealing with acne, chronic fatigue, so many things, and all the different specialists I saw, and nobody gave me any answers. It was just take this, do this, and it was all short term. There was no, what is the root cause? What is the underlying thing that's going on here? And unless we know what is happening and how to fix and heal, and that's why I made changes. I was telling everybody about it. Everyone's like, oh, help me. And I was like, I better get qualified, otherwise I'm giving out all this advice and I might get into trouble. But I got so passionate about it because we had huge transformations. And, you know, when I work with clients and I watch them have their aha moments, because we get attached to food. We are so attached to food. We've used it as a reward system. Like if you eat your dinner, you get dessert. We use it as a reward system, and we've got quite a distorted relationship with food, and it takes quite a while to change that. And I parented my older 2 kids that way, so you know, I understand how hard it is to reverse all those things for them, and then let alone ourselves, you know, because we got to walk the walk too.
Wow, that's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
To hear, and you do hear about it. You know, I know a friend of mine, she cut out all preservatives and things like that, and she just said it made a huge difference to her child's behaviour. But you know, I know you know, the diet that so many people have, it is weight gaining diets rather than, you know, weight reduction, and then they rely on, you know, diet treatments. And like you say, you know, my mum is like a lifetime member of Jenny Craig, she's a lifetime member of Weight Watchers, and I mean, these wouldn't be things that you'd be excited about, but you know, it's just the way I've been brought up. Mum's been
So that's the thing.
well, yeah.
And so that can happen in you without you even realizing it, because our parents model these behaviors to us, and sometimes we're not even really have that awareness around the things that were said to us as a kid. And there's work that we have to do there. It's like, really, and that's what I do with clients, you know, we've got to go back and really see what there are. And every time you think you've got one of your stories figured out and we've done all the work and we fix that story, another story appears, and we're like, wait a second, you know, that I'm not worthy is connected to other things. It's like, how am I supposed to heal my relationship with food when this was actually modeled to me or taught to me from a really young age? And if you look at your parents, there's always generally, and it doesn't have to be a parent, but most of the time it's a parent, our journey with food is so similar.
Because it's what they learnt too, and it's just a generational thing. And they didn't, I suppose that's just all they knew.
Yeah, I mean, my nan's generation is the World War II. So, you know, that's growing up with, you know, you're lucky to get what you get, and you better eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say I had that, you know, eat everything because there's starving children in Africa. And, you know, like I find it really hard to not eat everything on my plate. And it doesn't matter how full I am. It's like it's in my brain to do that. So
absolutely, and that's the loop, right? There's loops that are there, and it takes quite a while to change those patterns. But once you know the tools of how to bring things in and things to take out and how to deal with it, you just slowly can do it. It's not an overnight thing, but there is no quick fix on anything. And if you're looking for quick fixes, you might have an answer for 5 minutes or, you know, a month, but it's going to come back. It's going to come back. If we really want to get to the root cause and really figure out what's going on, we do have to put in some time and effort. But the reward is that you are high energy, you feel good, you know, you're not going to be perfect because perfect doesn't exist, but you're okay with what you see in the mirror. And you know that the food you're giving you is making you feel good and giving you energy. And it's easy for me to say it because I've done all the work and all the years for it. But I remember how I thought I was really healthy before, because we had vegetables. We just didn't really eat the way you're supposed to eat because it was modeled to us in a different way.
Yeah, I know Sharon is celiac and, you know, had so many problems with food. And then you became a food technician as a result of all of that, didn't you? Or...
No, that was after. So I was a food tech, but it took me a long time to realise that I was celiac, but I got very, very sick before I was diagnosed.
Sorry, Sharon, do you mind me asking how you actually got the diagnosis of celiac? Because I'm going through that a little bit myself at the moment, and I was just wondering how you found out. Is that okay to ask that in this chat, or?
Yeah, go for it.
So because I had I'd been anemic for years, even though I ate red meat all the time, and I just started to get really sick. So I had heartburn and yeah, really tired, a lot of brain fog, all that sort of stuff. And I was having some issues with my son, and I was trying to send him to a pediatrician to check out some stuff, and they did a test on him. So I said to my GP, can I get that test too? And mine was off the scale. So it was a blood test to start with, and then it was a gastroscopy to confirm.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they did the blood test for me, and like apparently 1 or 2 of the markers, he said it was like iffy, but like it's not confirmed, and he didn't even, and I sort of wanted a biopsy, and he said he didn't think it was worth it. So yeah.
So that sounds like he had genetic testing to see if you had the genes. Is that right?
I'm not sure. It was like a celiac serology test.
Okay. Because usually they'll test for
it was an immunologist.
Okay, so they do test for immunoglobulins and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that is one of the tests, okay. Because I then went and got my kids tested as well to see if they had the genes that were linked to celiac.
Okay.
And none of them have actually got celiac yet, but I know my eldest son has 2 of the genes, so he is very likely to get it. And he's already got an issue with dairy. So we always have fun cooking because, there's no dairy, there's no gluten. Very
but at least you're not sick anymore. Well, you're not feeling as like, I'm assuming you feel a lot better now.
I do, but I have issues still with food, and it's all that reward and punishment and all that sort of stuff. And probably not getting quite enough sleep sometimes.
That's
all of that stuff. And I know, like, I'm a nurse, a midwife, a food technologist. I've got a science background, and I know. And I have depression, which is linked to gut issues with celiac and all the rest of it. So
Oh, thank you very much for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Melissa, the other thing I found really interesting was the talk about inflammation, and I don't think a lot of people understand so much about that. They know, okay, inflammation on my foot, I've twisted my ankle and it's inflamed and I need to, ice it and get it down. But I really loved when you talked about inflammation foods versus inflammation behavior. And I think that is really, really important as well. Inflammation, would you talk about the gut health issues? Would that be related to sort of these inflammation foods?
Yes, absolutely. But it depends how you're creating the inflammation in your body. Most of people is through food, but it could be through things that you're taking. So pharmaceuticals, it can be inflammation from things that you're putting on your body. And it can also be inflammation from stress. So it really depends where it's coming from. And that is going to affect your gut as well. So it's understanding that everything kind of goes hand in hand, but if you kind of look at the root cause of everything, it's really that we need to heal the body. So with Sharon, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but she, would need to do probably gut healing work for the rest of her life. And it's just, probably a lot now. And then it just, gets to the point where you're only doing, what I do, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes of the day at the most. That is practices that are going to heal the gut. And you want to do it anyway, because it makes you grow really great hair and nails. And
that would be amazing.
Can you tell us what you do in 5 minutes?
Like my nails, I don't get started.
I know you're saying that, you need a longer time, but what do you do every day?
Well, I have like a gut health protocol that I wouldn't be able to sit here and do that with you now. But that's what I do with clients. And it's really about looking at how you can put the foods into your gut, the right foods, how you can create healthy bugs in there. So it just really depends on what's going on in your body. So it's reducing the inflammation foods. It's really taking things out and putting the right things in. I'm a big swapper. I don't like, restrictions, because I think it changes our relationship with food. But gut health is, it's different for everybody, because what works for me might not work for you. We have to work out. It's the same as food, because it works with food. And also, if you're wanting to change it as well, it's stress, it's sleep, it's water, it's sunshine. So I that's why I created the business Improve Yourself, for that reason, was because back when I was got on my own journey and I was sharing with others, it's like, you just have to improve yourself on a daily basis. So when I work with clients, we go through the steps slowly, so that we do them and we don't skip anything, but so you don't feel overwhelmed, and so you can implement it in your life, and then you keep doing it for the rest of your life, so you can always feel good. It's not a short-term thing, because then we go backwards.
Yeah. Now, can you maybe, just as we're closing up, how can people follow you? You've got some free groups where you give information all the time. Where is the best place for them to follow you?
Thank you. So my Facebook group is Healthy Empowered Women, and that's my Facebook group. My Facebook page is Improve Yourself. My Instagram's Improve Yourself Nutrition Coach, and my website is improveyourself.net.au, which I haven't touched my website for a long time. It really needs a lot of work, so I don't even. But otherwise, just look for me on Facebook under Melissa Wilkes and get in contact with me. I'm happy to chat. I offer free health audits, so 30-minute health audit, just to go through what is happening in your body, what you're experiencing, and then I can share the things that I offer and whether it would work for you and be something that you'd be, be suitable.
So I've just popped the link in the chat there for Melissa's group. So that's the Healthy Empowered Women, and I think that's a really good one. That's the one I'm always following when she goes like secret undercover into the supermarket. She's picking up the labels and looking through. But I mean, I know personally I'm going to book in for one of the 30-minute audits. I think we all should. No, like seriously, I need to. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
I've written like a ton of notes here, and I'm like, I need to research this, I need to research that. But yeah, knowing that you've got that 30-minute and it's free, guys. So, take Melissa up on it. So they can just get in touch with you through the group, and you'll find Melissa there. Just click on it, send her a message.
Yeah, I'd love to chat for sure. Yeah.
Any final questions, Rachel? Did you have anything you wanted to add, or just any comments from tonight?
No, like I might do a consult. Like I've got a lot of my health's really complicated, and I'm on medication, and I've been to a lot of like I've been to dietitian, so I've sort of had I'm just sort of overwhelmed with all the information I've been given. So yeah, it's hard, because like I've been told, go paleo, like you got to try FODMAP, you're definitely gluten intolerant, or you need gluten because you need it like for your brain. It's best to have a little bit so I'm just I've had all that, so I'm just trying to figure out still, because I know it's important, but I'm just
I've been there, don't worry.
Confused.
I've been there. I went literally seen that many naturopaths and doctors, and before I went through my own, and I figured it out myself, but it took me years, and then I had to do my studies as well. I constantly am always upgrading, doing courses, getting more qualifications, because I'm so passionate about it, and I totally get that it's overwhelming, because I've been there too. You need to do that. I will say the difference between working with a coach and then the difference between me or someone like me, if you didn't gel with me and you found someone else, that's fine too, is that where they're with you the whole way. So there's not someone saying, go and eat this. It's actually someone watching you. Well, I do in my case is I watch my clients. I'm watching what they're eating and I'm helping them, and we just make slow tweaks, and together we work out what does your body like and not like. So I'm not going to write you a script or a page of notes and say, here you go, figure it out. That's where I come in, and that's the difference, the gap, I guess, that I feel is that I actually do the work with you and I show you how to do it, including cooking and recipes and all that sort of stuff. So we can figure out what food your body likes and doesn't like, what's creating inflammation for you, not necessarily for me, but for you. And then when you heal, as you heal your body, which we do that work as well, as we heal, we can look at slowly introducing foods back. So if you decided to try gluten-free for a month and you did really well, but you wanted to try and bring it back in to see what happens, then you do that, but you heal the body the whole time so that we don't cause more problems. So when I think about the fact that I ate gluten for 30 years of my life, or not 30 because you don't eat gluten when you're a baby, but 30 plus years of my life I ate gluten. And so why would I think that just stopping eating gluten was going to heal my body? But that's what I thought when I went gluten-free 12 years ago. So I then realized I have 30 years of undoing to do. And people
that makes sense, because
and gluten stays in your body for up to 6 months.
See, I go through
my like 3 or 4 days. So you've got to really understand that all these foods can create that, and if you don't know what you're looking at or what you're looking for or what your body's doing, and I'd love to get my client to the point where at the end of their journey they're like, oh, this happened and I knew it was because I ate this, and I'm like, yay, because it doesn't matter if you ate it, you recognize it, you start hearing the conversation your body's having with you, and you know what works and don't, and you're looking for signs and you know what's happening. And it is important part is healing. So we can get told you're this, or this has happened, or your body's this, or you've got this autoimmune, but they don't talk about how, it's like, well, that's it, you're going to live like that for the rest of your life. And you don't, because if I had to listen to them with my son, he probably would be autistic now and ADD and all that sort of stuff. And still he's a high performing AB student, very athletic, like I didn't listen to those things. I was like, nah, we can do this. And I think that's the only thing that, not the only thing, but one thing that I get really wound up about is that feeling of there's no solution. There is, it's just figuring out what the solution is for you.
Yeah, no, I really thank you for that. And it just sounds like a good approach what you do, because I mean I've been on the hundreds of dollars of vitamins and all that, and I didn't know the system for 6 months either. I knew it obviously hangs around. I'll do like really strict periods, and then I'll have a massive, like last night I went to my aunt's birthday and had like all this Italian, and I've been like off gluten strictly for like a few months. So it's just learning about like what it does to the body and everything, and there's a lot of other stuff going on too, so sometimes it's hard to know what's doing what. And
I get you. You gotta have fun and enjoy food and not be scared of
well, that's the thing. I think I avoid it because I worry that if I find out I can't ever have gluten, I just worry that I'm missing out. I think that thing, and because I don't have a lot of energy to cook because I'm quite unwell a lot of the time as well. So I like, even if I do eat healthy, it's pretty plain and boring because it's restrictive. So
I don't do plain and boring. I told you guys I'm a foodie.
I believe.
I'm hearing you, Rachel. I went through a lot of that too. And then when I was diagnosed celiac, then I kind of went through like a depression because it's like, oh, I can't eat this anymore.
You great grieving period.
Yeah, definitely. And and just when you go out, sometimes it's like, I wish I didn't have to be worried and I could just eat.
I really feel for you, because again, waiting for the test, thinking, just thinking, if I am celiac, like this is going to change my like this is really going to impact my whole life, like eating out, everything, like be aware of that.
But I I don't crawl under the desk at work and try to go to sleep and I'm not farting every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, like just all these horrible things that were happening all the time. I felt sick every single day.
I can imagine. I know
So,
celiac, and it's worth the cutting out because of the health improvements. So I'm really glad that out though, and you're not like your body's not suffering as much from the gluten. Because, that must be horrible. But I still don't know like if there's I've been told like I'm gluten intolerant from a rheumatologist who apparently did blood tests. Then I was told by other doctors you can't actually test for gluten intolerance. There's not even a test. It's just stop taking it and then take it again. So I'm so confused. Like, and I just don't, and then I get that everything in moderation, or you eat and so. But I've got so many health issues that I really want to learn more about. I know I need to educate myself more about food. Like I don't have the knowledge to get my gut better, to get my brain better and my body better. So so that's where I'm sort of at the moment. So maybe I might book in for 30-minute if that's possible.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely. Yeah, would love to.
And what I can say, because I am in the health industry, is that doctors do not have the answers in their toolbox. Their answer is to patch up the side effects of what's going on to us. But they're not trying to work out what the root cause is. So
I've been patched up for many years from doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, in and out of hospitals, and immunologists, rheumatologists. So so my gut, I think if you saw my gut, it wouldn't look very happy at the moment. Would be pretty depressing. Yeah.
All right, ladies. Well, I'm going to wind up now. I promised Melissa we'd be 90 minutes, and we're smack on.
That's all right.
Really great. But I think the discussion's been great. The information's been amazing, Melissa. You just gave us so much to think about. I'm actually a little bit scared to talk to you because I'm like, oh no, she's going to change everything that I do.
Oh, I'm going to reassess my almond milk in the fridge as well, because
I'm not like that, honestly. Like
no, but like I've been like my almond milk because I know it's better than milk for me, but I know there's like 2% almonds and the rest is rubbish. So no, that was a good wake up call as well. Thank you.
It's just slow changes. It's nothing. I think if we, like I said, your brain's designed to get you from birth to death as safely as possible. It doesn't like to feel uncomfortable. So everything I do is very slow so that you don't feel overwhelmed and you don't feel like, I've got to change everything. I don't want to change everything. If I can convert my husband, it's not really that. Like he still drinks beer and we still have pizza. It's just done a different way, the ways around it. I don't take things out. I swap them, and I think that's what it's about. So
I think that's like a really good way of doing things. Like I
added the link if you want to in the chat group, if that's easier. You're welcome to click on that and book it in. Thank you very much for having me, Nikki. And thank you, ladies.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much. And girls, just click on that link and it'll just open it up for you. So when the Zoom shuts down, you've got it, or you've copied that link from Melissa. But thank you. A wealth of knowledge, so much to think about. And thanks again for everyone jumping on. Abby saying thank you as well. Awesome. I will see. I was just going to let you know that our next meetup is actually in a couple of weeks' time. It's on the 27th, but it's at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We're talking about the 10 steps to burnout and beyond. So if that is of interest, that will come up on Meetup and Eventbrite and Facebook. So you will see that coming up as well. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. Something I'm very passionate about also. So, all right, guys, have an amazing night and thank you for spending it with us.
Okay. Thanks very much, guys.
Bye.